Hi, truth seekers. Welcome back to my podcast, the Gillian Kane Connection Podcast. It is your host, Gillian, and on my podcast, we talk about everything from spirituality, sexuality, conscious business, and literally everything in between. So if that's your jam, then press the subscribe button and let's get started. Today, we are going to talk about the empath's guide to the ups and downs of dating. If you are an empath, if you are a sensitive soul, if you are extremely understanding and compassionate, if you're a healer, a coach, or anything within that field, then this is for you. You know, most of my clients fit into this box massively. Very successful, but also extremely empathic in nature. And for a lot of people and a lot of them, it's taken them a while to kind of really, truly realize what a superpower that is. And the common thread that I tend to see, and like this isn't with everyone, of course, but a common thread that I tend to see with empathic people or healers or coaches or those that are really here to be of service with a heart-centered and soul-aligned business, or just of being who they are in the world, being of service because of who they are in the world. The common denominator can be certain struggles that they have within their relationships. So if you are a fellow feeler of the world, like myself, and if you've ever been accused of, being too sensitive, or if you've been through emotional ups and downs, if you have like that emotional radar that can pick up those vibes like nobody else, then this is the pros and cons of how you navigate the dating game, because it can be an emotional roller coaster as an empath. Your emotions for sure can run high, and at the same time, the love that you feel can be on a whole other level. So let's get into it. So some of the pros of dating or being in relationship as an empath is, that level of connection that us empaths, one, crave, and two, are able to delve into with other people. You might be the person that everyone comes to for advice. You don't have to be a healer or work in the healing field in whatever way that is, but it's just your nature. Empaths just are honestly the reigning champions of connection. And, you are ready to have those heart-to-heart talks at any moment. You're really able to kind of dive into the depths of emotions to make that person, whoever you're dealing with, whoever you're speaking to, whoever you are getting to know, feel extremely comfortable and safe in your presence. And it is such a gift to be able to give that to, not just the person you're dating, but all of the other people in your life as a beautiful empath. And that is that heart-to-heart connection capability that you just innately have. So I would say the second pro of dating as an empath would be the level of emotional intelligence you have. You feel everything, so you literally have a PhD in emotional intelligence. Conversations you probably find flow smoother than, a river of chocolate, that deep, rich, and, occasionally filled with surprises. So you're the emotional BFF everyone wishes that they had. You are the person that, because you can feel everyone's emotions around you, you have an extrasensory ability to have a level of emotional intelligence that most people just would dream of having. So that is such a gift when you are dating because having a deep emotional intelligence in any kind of relationships really allows you to propel any connection with truth and honesty and vigor, right? And another amazing pro that I see empaths have when they're dating or when they're in relationship in general is their level of intuition. Move over, Sherlock, because empaths have an intuition that honestly will rival the best detectives. So in relationships, you're that sleuth. You are picking up on subtle cues. You are honestly solving the mysteries of your partner's heart. Like, forget the guessing games. You've got this. You are really able to tap into your intuition like nobody else can. And to be in a successful partnership, it is not a guessing game. And sometimes, unfortunately, in relationships, that's how it plays out. People can't have this honest level of communication, and it does become a guessing game. But the fact that you, as an empath or a healer or a coach, you have that deep level of natural intuition where you can kind of navigate those unseen realms, or the things that your partner isn't saying, or the things that honestly your partner doesn't even realize about themselves. So intuition is honestly your superpower within your most intimate relationships, and it is such a great one to hone. And honestly, a lot of empaths, some empaths, let's not say a lot of empaths, some empaths, because they have such a high level of empathy and intuition, it can sometimes be overwhelming for them. So the key to an empath is honestly developing their intuition, is developing their boundaries, understanding energy, reading energy, so they're not getting bombarded and overwhelmed with it. So they can actually discern what is theirs and what is not, and tune into what their unique intuitive nudges are, and how they receive that intuitive information. So intuition is the beautiful number 3 of a pro. And another pro that I would definitely say a lot of empaths have when they're in relationship and dating is just that sixth sense you have for love. I talk about the love languages quite a bit, and the 5 love languages of how we receive love and how we give love that makes us feel the most heard and seen. And this is actually a really simple one, but I find that it can go so wrong when partners don't understand each other's love language. And it can turn into nagging or confusion or communication breakdowns and conflict. And it really doesn't have to be that if you honestly understand what your love language is and what your partner's is. So as an empath, you are probably pretty well attuned to knowing what your love language is and knowing what your partner's love language is. And just naturally, because you feel everything, you are going to want to help each other to explore your love languages in the best possible way. And another huge asset that an empath and a healer has over and above most people is your sensitivity. And you may, when you were younger, have had that thrown back at you. You may have been so overwhelmed with your sensitivity, but as you learn to hone that sensitive superpower, you can start to really understand when something's off. You can feel it. Even if it's just a tiny ripple in the emotional pond, your ability to tune into your partner's feelings makes you honestly the relationship superhero that can just leap those emotional obstacles. And again, really being able to hone your sensitivity where it does become a superpower rather than a hindrance, or rather than something that is too overwhelming for you, is how you can really turn it into one of the best assets that you can as an empath, and one of the best assets that you can use within creating the most successful and aligned relationships. So as you can see, being an empath or a healer or a coach or someone that is sensitive or deeply intuitive has so many pros when it comes to your relationships. It is such a gift for someone to be in relationship with an empath or a spiritual person. It truly is, for all of the reasons that I've just mentioned. But, and there is a but, I don't like to use the word but, I like to say and also. So let's just say and also, because that feels more empowering. And also, when it comes to the cons of dating as an empath or a spiritual being, is that like everything, there's polarity. Your sensitivity and your empathic nature can really help relationships flourish into this most deepest, authentic place of love. And also, it can cause a few challenges along the way. And let me know if any of these resonate with you, because from my research and from working with my clients, these are the kind of things that come up often. And also for me, as a healer, as an empath, as a spiritual person, these are the things that I also had huge challenges with and had to really work on in order to be able to build the most successful relationships within my life. So, emotional roller coaster. What does that phrase bring up for you? Because, I have so many memories of where some of my previous intimate relationships were exactly that. That was a perfect way to describe them. The emotional roller coaster. You're on a joyous moment of love and bliss and, in that flow of being with someone 1 minute, and then you literally plummet into the depths of sadness the next minute. It can be a thrilling ride, but, for a lot of us, it's like, okay, we just need to get off the ride. So because you feel everything, because you are so in tune, you're not just picking up your own feelings, you are also picking up your partner's, and you can't control your partner's feelings. And if you haven't learned to hone your intuition, if you haven't learned to protect your energy, if you haven't learned levels of discernment, you can just get swept up on this never-ending ride of emotional highs and lows, and one that is for your nervous system, and two, it's just not a nice place to live. As an empath, you want peace, you want harmony, you want that level of equilibrium in your relationships and your life. Like, that is what makes you the happiest, and that's what fuels you. However, you can tend to pick people in relationships that are in fact the opposite. Or even if they're not the opposite, just because you feel so much, it still feels like you're on this never-ending cycle of emotional highs and lows. So, being on that emotional roller coaster, listen, guys, we need to get off it, and I suppose, like, the downside of that is because you can't feel all of the feels, like, feeling so deeply. When you absorb the emotions of those around you, it can honestly be emotionally exhausting. Like, your heart can feel like a sponge after a rainy day, heavy, in need of some serious wringing out and hanging out to dry. And when you're in an intimate relationship with someone, when you're so close to someone, when you're in love with someone, you, again, if you're an empath or a healer, again, without having the proper discernment and energy clearing tools, you are just absorbing everyone's stuff around you, and you're taking it on and carrying it like it's your own. How many backpacks of emotional drudgery have you been carrying around for other people? And I'm sure it's just not your last relationship or your current relationship. It's probably every single relationship you've been on. So I think it's time to take that backpack off, guys. Give it back, because those feelings aren't yours. And the other thing that I found that a lot of empaths and healers and spiritual people, when they're dating or in relationships in general, really struggle with are boundaries. You are an emotional open book, which can honestly lead to the battle of boundaries. So knowing honestly when to draw the line between your feelings and someone else's is and can be the challenge. It is about boundaries, and that just takes time. That takes time of understanding yourself. That takes time of knowing your own worth, knowing what makes you feel good and makes you not feel good, and to have a level of trust and authenticity in your own voice, and to be able to communicate those boundaries through a place of love rather than a place of disempowerment. Because again, a lot of empaths and healers, because they can feel everyone's feelings and emotions, a lot of us don't have are really scared of saying the wrong thing or holding a boundary in case it makes someone feel bad. Because if something that you've said or done makes your partner feel bad, as an empath, you feel it. So it's like, oh, I need to set this boundary to make me feel good, but also I absorb my partner's feelings if they're not feeling good about the boundary I've just set, and that then makes me feel bad. So that can really stop an empath from really speaking their truth and setting those direct boundaries. But it is so possible and plausible for you to set healthy boundaries that are understood and respected and seen by your partner, because ultimately your partner will want you to be the happiest that they can be. And if they don't respect that, then that's a whole other kettle of fish that we won't go into at the moment. But yeah, boundary battle as an empath, that is for sure something that I see people struggle with. And I probably see another thing that can really show up for empaths when they're in relationships and dating is the overstimulation. Like, overstimulation is the arch nemesis of empaths. Crowded spaces, loud noises, or even intense emotions can send you into a sensory overload. Like, who resonates with that? For an empath, you want a zen. You want the peaceful life. So finding your zen in a chaotic world it just is going to require a few breaths, perhaps some noise cancelling headphones, but being able to, again, have the tools to reset your nervous system, to handle these big emotions, to have that level of emotional security and safety within your body is so key for any empath trying to navigate their most intimate relationships. So you're not being completely railroaded by these high heated emotions, or I mean, it doesn't even have to be emotions. It could just be your partner raising their voice at you, or speaking to you in a way that doesn't make you feel safe. Like, all of these can just take you into complete overstimulation overdrive. And for a lot of empaths, that means like shutting down your nervous system, going into like a fight or flight, which again is disempowering and not helpful for yourself, your relationship with yourself, or your relationship with the other person. And I'd probably say another thing that I've noticed with empaths and dating is caring too much. For sure, caring too much. Because you are so compassionate, because you're so understanding and so empathic, and you care deeply. Whilst that is your superpower, it can also be your kryptonite. I have found for sure that empaths and you beautiful spiritual people out there generally find themselves caring so much for others, so much for their partner, that you neglect your own well-being. You neglect your own emotions in favor of someone else's. You neglect to notice the red flags. You give people the benefit of the doubt potentially too much. And this is something that I say to so many of my clients. It's, again, whilst this caring deeply is honestly your superpower, when you are dating or when you are in an intimate relationship with someone, you need to hold that person at a higher standard than anyone else in your life, because there's probably no one else than your romantic partner that can influence and impact your life and your peace and your emotions more than the person that you are romantically or sexually in relationship with. And when I say you have to hold them at a higher standard, it's not judging, it's discerning. So, I mean, gosh, I have absolutely been guilty for this in the past, where I've been so understanding of, certain people's pasts or certain patterns that they've had, because, I could see the good in that person. I could see the beauty in them, and, and I was like, I know people can change. However, if there's a certain pattern that seems to come up again and again in your life within romantic relationships, then empaths, healers, spiritual people, you need to take note of it. You need to take note of it. If you have a habit of attracting, God, ex-drug dealers or strippers or, God, I don't know, whatever it is, or people that have been involved in the underworld in some way. I mean, these are the extremes of things, but it's very viable. That broken bird that says all the right things and seems like a reformed character. You have to really use your intuition and dig deeper before you even allow them into impacting your energy, because that's exactly what will happen. And noticing those patterns that will come up in the people that you've dated is going to be so important for you to be able to do that. And again, hold them at a higher standard of, look, unless they've done some deep work on themselves, then as you know, these behaviors, these ingrained subconscious ways of viewing the world, or that would have got them into doing things like that in their past in the first place, unless they've done some really, really deep healing work, those things haven't changed. So why are you being too understanding and compassionate to go, oh, I'll give them a try because everyone changes? Like, again, like, don't take this the wrong way. Like, caring is your superpower and you should remain caring, but you need to have a level of discernment in how deeply you care, because it can impact you so much. And I mean, that also goes hand in hand with, as an empath and a healer and a spiritual being, how many people have you attracted that need healing? How many people, subconsciously or not, have you accepted and attracted that needed fixing, or that you felt you could fix, or you felt you could make better or change or heal, or, you know, you could just see the good in them, you could just see their heart, but it was so frauded with behaviors and challenges and things that actually didn't align to you? How many people have been in that situation? Because hands up, I know I have. And again, this could be subconsciously or consciously, but a lot of people that are natural empaths will attract those people energetically that also, or potentially have some trauma, because there's an energetic resonance that they are looking for, and they're so drawn to you, and you're looking for because you're so drawn to them. You know, naturally as an empath and a healer, you can feel those things and you want to help. But what I'm saying is, if this is your job, then for sure those are your clients, right? Those are your clients that you need to be helping. Those are your friends maybe that you need to be helping. Those are people that are less fortunate than you that you could be helping, you know, whether that's volunteering or whatever, if this isn't your career. But those aren't your partners. And I've said this so many times when I look back at my old relationships, and I've said, wow, they never should have been my partner. They should have been my client. But we attract and accept those because we have a huge amount of learning to go through, and we had, I had lessons to learn of why I was accepting them and why I was attracting them and why I was, what that was bringing up in me. Where were my unhealed parts? Because, you know, as an empath or a spiritual person or a healer, we still have our stuff. We still have our trauma. We're still working through our stuff. But hopefully, because we are so empathic, we have, and you have, the opportunity to really see them at a higher level than a lot of other people do. So I really hope that's been useful, and I would love to know if any of those resonated, because again, this is something that I've seen in my past. It is something that I see in a lot of my clients. So again, dating as an empath is honestly, it is navigating a maze of feelings. Sometimes confusing, sometimes thrilling, but it's always an adventure. So my advice to you, if you are dating, when you are in a relationship, even if you have a significant other, you know, the way to empower yourself, the way to build a deeper connection and more successful relationship is to embrace those sensitive superpowers. To be able to navigate the emotional landscapes that our romantic and close relationships will inevitably bring up in us. Being able to understand your shadows. Be able to heal your own self so you can actually spot those blind spots. where you aren't afraid to communicate your boundaries, where you feel that this relationship, or you're picking the most empowered relationships for yourself, where you are so tuned into your intuition and you can discern energy that you can tell who is right for you and who is not right for you. These are all the things that I would invite you to start exploring. And apart from that, may your love story be filled with laughter, be filled with understanding, and a whole lot of heart-to-heart moments. Because as an empath, as a spiritual being, as a healer, as a coach, you deserve the most profound love, because you are able to give the most profound love. So if you are looking to delve deeper into how to navigate your relationships as an empath, as a healer, as a coach, and how you're able to navigate the relationship with yourself so you can become the most self-aware, so you can actually use your intuition as your superpower, not just in dating and relationships, but in your life. So you can attract and live the most aligned, beautiful life that was meant for you. Then you can check out the show notes below and all the different ways that you can work with me. And I wish you the most beautiful, happiest day filled with love, my beautiful empath. And I love you lots, and I will see you on the next one.